Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
I'm Colin.
Are we going to fight
I'm
over this
Mason.
one again?
Oh,
Yes.
God.
I'm Josh.
No, after you, Josh, please. I
Hello,
insist.
I'm Josh. That is me.
And this is where we talk about all things Star Wars. And a lot of news has dropped lately, and we wanted to talk about the first thing that dropped right after I think we did our podcast, and then the day after the Kenobi trailer hit, EW dropped another picture from Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And
Hayden
of
is
course,
back.
The
Yeah.
lights.
Man himself.
They give us the lights.
So I think that's in Vader's castle as well, on Mustafar, because of if you look back to that scene in Rogue One where his servant goes to wake him up and tell him that Krennic is there, that like chamber is almost identical to the one from Rogue One. So I think we will see stuff over at Vader's castle, especially because of the moon of the planet where the Inquisitor is on. That is a moon of Mustafar, so it would make sense that they would travel back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, just the silhouette, they got it 100% correct, because that looks exactly like something that you would pull off from one of the original trilogy movies. And for me personally, when I saw the suit back at Revenge of the Sith, when Hayden donned it there, it didn't look entirely accurate. This looks like they actually pulled the original suit out of wherever they're storing it at. And
So do you think we're going to get red eyes again?
we probably will. The red lenses should be there.
Yeah, red lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think so.
Hopefully.
That is just what an iconic shot. Man, I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, James Earl. Yeah, how crazy would it be if like it wasn't James Earl Jones, like it wasn't his voice, and it was like that weird like dubbed voices that we keep hearing like in like the Lego games and like in
That
Star
is,
Wars.
it's an
I would be
interesting thing
Shocked.
because if he is demasked and you have a scene of him speaking without his helmet on,
That'd
do you
be
think we
rad.
would see that? Yeah.
To see Hayden, but hear James Earl Jones's voice.
Oh my god.
No, because it's only James Earl Jones' voice through the mask.
To the suit. Yeah.
Yeah, through the suit. So I think it would be interesting to be able to hear Hayden's voice, whatever his charred, like damaged voice.
Well,
would
he
be.
has microphones right next to his mouth, so it
That's
doesn't
true.
matter if you take off the top part. He's still speaking through the bottom part, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. No, a good example of that is that scene from Rebels where Ahsoka and Vader fight, and then Ahsoka like damages his helmet, and it
Yeah.
like goes from Vader's voice to Anakin's, which that whole scene was awesome, and I loved that they had Matt Lanter actually come back and do Anakin for that. So it was like James Earl Jones, and then it jumped to Matt Lanter, and it was like, oh, it was so cool. So it's gonna be awesome if we see that again, but it will jump to Hayden.
I would like to see that. Like, man, I would love to see either his helmet get damaged or something like that, and then immediately go from like James Earl Jones Vader to Hayden Christensen Vader would be really cool, because I don't think we've seen anything like exactly like that yet.
Yeah, and RFB has a point here. I mean, 90-year-old James Earl Jones is not going to sound like a younger prime version of Vader. But we do know they have the respeecher technology that they used for Luke Skywalker's voice in the Book of Boba Fett.
What was the last thing that we've heard James Earl Jones in? Was that Lion King side? And did he sound nearly as different?
Well, for Rogue One, you could obviously tell that it was an older.
You could tell
voice.
that it was different. I just wonder if like that technology is there yet, that you can definitely just get it back to a younger self. So yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm excited.
And I was just actually thinking about what Crash Test Wookiee's talking about here. When the mask comes off in Return of the Jedi, you hear the actor's voice. You don't hear James Earl Jones's voice anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, was he already shutting down? I mean, what was happening with the mechanics of the suit? That's, I guess, my question. But I don't know, but I mean that's a pretty cool visual, a pretty cool thing that if they do decide to unmask him but still have the voice, I think that would be pretty cool to see. But
Yeah. And then something else as well about Kenobi that it's been like going back and forth like this whole past week was that apparently Maul was never in the script, and then he was, and then he wasn't, and Kathleen Kennedy didn't know exactly how to deal like with the situation. How do you guys feel about that? Because of like, I thought it would be cool if maybe Maul made a cameo, but I don't think it would have worked as a full out like of him being the main villain, because apparently he was supposed to be the main villain of the entire show.
well, that's
But
one of
then
our topics we're going to talk about later on.
Oh, well, there you go.
But yeah, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that this will be the last cover, the last in-print cover for Entertainment Weekly. So this is it, guys. Once this hits the shelves and it's gone, you're never going to be able to get another in-print cover of this magazine.
Wow.
And it's interesting that it's Obi-Wan on the cover. So you can actually go to, it's not on store shelves yet. It comes out Thursday. So that's the first time you can pick these up. But you can actually go to the EW website right now and just buy issues. And I don't think
Snag
there's
yourself
a limit.
piece of Star Wars history.
And I believe Obi-Wan has graced the cover about 3 times now. And what's interesting is I think he was the main character on an EW cover for the Phantom Menace, and now it's come full circle with this cover.
That's so cool. That's very interesting.
That is really crazy.
And if you go to the EW website, you can actually click on a button where the cover is actually interactive and the lightsaber ignites. So,
oh, that is cool. Nice.
And along with EW, there's a variety of other magazines that are just shutting down. But I thought it was just really interesting, the fact that Entertainment Weekly will no longer be printing issues in paper anymore.
It's I mean, man, it's interesting though, like the age that we live in, because it seems like we sort of surpassed the need for something like a magazine now that we have like well, everything's digital now, you know, everything's on your phone, everything's on your laptop, right?
I mean, with Star Wars literally being the biggest branding of like all time of just so much merchandise, it's interesting that this will be the last that you can purchase with. Yeah. It's going to be like, yep, this is it. This is our last of last, which would be really cool. I think in a while that's going to be pretty collectible.
Yeah, I am thinking a lot of stuff from Revenge of the Sith, like, and anything with Kenobi is going to be worth a lot of money coming up soon. Before the stream, I was actually talking to Josh because of Josh found this awesome, like old action figure like pack that it was like Anakin and Obi-Wan and Mustafar like fighting in the lava fall, and he found it. He took a picture of it, but didn't buy it. And I was like, bro, like 100% should have bought it, because that thing is going to be worth a lot of money soon. Because of that, like, movie is so iconic. And out of all the prequel movies, that was the one that stood out because it connected the original trilogy. And then it also really showed us what everyone was wanting out of the prequel trilogy, which was showing Anakin transition into Vader. So I think that that we will now see that like full transition happen in this show in Kenobi, and it's going to be incredible.
Phantom Menace stood out. Remember Jar Jar Binks, everyone's favorite character.
Yeah,
it may have earned a place in the Hall of Infamy, perhaps, in a lot of people's hearts, but it was still iconic.
Yeah.
So
what you say is true from a certain point of view. But anyways, go ahead, David.
I'm a Phantom Menace fan. I will go ahead and say that.
Yeah, the thing about collecting stuff from older movies, I've done that. I'm a lot older than you guys, and I still have the stuff like sitting around, and I've checked to see how much it's worth, and it's really not worth a whole lot. I've saved a whole bunch of stuff. My family saved a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just not really worth all that much on the open market. But if stuff is really rare, like the original action figures, the Kenner figures,
Yeah.
in box and mint condition, those can be super expensive. I know there was a Jawa sold at Celebration in 2015 for about $6,000. So, yeah, that stuff can be super expensive. But I went to a store up in North Dallas where they had a lot of the prequel figures in the box, and it was pretty decently priced. It wasn't just super extremely expensive. So, and of course, at that point in time, they figured that toys were going to be all the rage, so they made a whole lot more of them. So, I don't know if you guys remember all the way back in 1999, but yeah, those toys stayed on the pegs for a long time in stores, and a lot of that stuff was not bought. I don't know what happened to it, but a lot of that stuff kind of sat there, which was kind of interesting.
I remember when Attack the Clones came out, and it was around Christmas time, and my aunt, the one that got me into Star Wars, she like just got almost every single Attack the Clones action figure that you could possibly think of, like that was in that movie. And when we were kids, we were excited. I think we held on to two, but like a couple, but then the rest were like completely destroyed from my siblings and I just like actually playing with them. Yeah. So I feel like if like I could, if like I had the chance to time travel, I would be like, do not open the boxes, because of eventually those all will be, a lot of money. I have a 1977 like Kenner, like Luke. I mean not Luke. Like a Leia and Chewie never opened that. That I got as a gift, and I will never open those because of it's like, come on.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that like you can have things that are in the past that aren't worth as much if it's like Phantom Menace side.
Yeah.
But you have stuff like now, which like Ahsoka's white lightsabers from Galaxy's Edge are going for like well over $1,000. Like I've got those ones and I've been like, oh wow, just watching the price go up. And it's interesting because as soon as like her series ends up dropping, that lightsaber is gonna go up. Same thing with like the dark sabers, when they sell out, it's like, oh, the price jumps up a little bit. So it's very interesting to see how over time these are going to end up changing based on like. So I think Obi-Wan's one is definitely going to like have a jump straight after this, like when the series gets released. Like any kind of Obi-Wan merchandise, I think is going to go up in price.
Well, is it? I mean, I think there's sort of a difference whenever you're looking at something on a scale like that, like with supply and demand, because obviously, like when you're talking about things from the past with Star Wars merch, supply and demand, you can't get it anymore. But the reason it's like demand is so high and supply is so low now is because they literally can't make enough. Like they can't make them fast enough, and it's hard to get your hands on them.
Fair.
But
I know that
with, like prequels, like the prequel trilogies, I figure all that merch, like Star Wars was pretty unpopular back then. I will credit Disney with this. Like Disney did find a way to bring Star Wars back, make it one of the most iconic and recognizable brands, and then be able to market that and like sell merchandise off of it really well. And I don't feel like that's something that really happened a lot, especially when I was a kid. So perhaps it is because that like excess amount of stuff that was made that was just never purchased that you were talking about,
Yeah, it's totally supply and demand. I mean, they made so much of it in the late 90s that, it's just not going to be worth that much. And if they make a bunch of Kenobi stuff too, like the HasLab project, they only made so many of those. That's why I kind of invested and bought two of them.
That's fair.
But yeah.
Hey, I mean, there are a couple things, like definitely things that I think a lot of people want. Like for when I was a kid, I remember that the main one that I wanted as a toy was the Acolyte. Like that's the main one I wanted.
Man, I wanted, I don't know if anyone remembers them, but there was these Star Wars action figures that they made, like a whole series of action figure toys that they made. And they had like Anakin and Obi-Wan. But anyway, I remember one of my best friends at the time had the Ether Sprite Starfighters that the Jedi use. And it was Anakin's and Obi-Wan's, and the wings actually like flipped out. And there was also like an AC-170 that had like the wings that would flip out. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And you know what? Like, I'm not even disappointed to say I would still buy that now. Like 100%. I like absolutely. Those are cool toys.
Yeah, no, I always had my eyes on this right here.
Ugh.
Like
Oh yeah.
Like-
oh no.
If
like
you're
as
just
a kid.
listening, you know what he's holding.
We already know it's a Max Rebo figurine.
Yeah,
It's a shame he
but
died in that cantina explosion. And
Shut up.
That's fine.
No, you will be
I wonder
banned.
if we're gonna get.
Hey, when Galen gets on here, maybe he knows. No, but
Went from Max Rebo to Min.
Wouldn't that be
Rebo
so
real
funny?
quick?
yeah, no, but I so because of it's crazy that like the like main thing that like of the goal of the toys was to sell, right? But if you think about it, a fine example is Robert Rodriguez actually doing the actual planning and the choreography of episode 6 of season 2 of Mando, where him and his kids are using Star Wars action figures to actually plan out that fight scene. And it's like they're actually putting toys to use.
Yeah,
and
literally playing in the sandbox.
Yeah, it's like that's awesome. That's great. And what we always hear Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni say, like I always, had these toys and I would play with them. And in my mind, I would always picture, of these scenes in my head, but it was just with action figures. But now that
And how he said like it was the ones that they never got to use the older brother's toys. It was always like the ones he wouldn't want to play with, and that was their toy box. And I thought that was
right. Yeah, and now it's like of what we would play as kids is now we're actually seeing it on screen, like of what we picture like on screen. Like I guarantee everyone like when Solo came out and that scene where like he's making the Kessel Run and like he like actually has the Falcon go on the ground and kind of drift and then like take off like that. I would always do that with the ships because I would always picture him like doing something like a car would do, and it's like boom, like it's in the movie. Like what?
I mean,
so it's so cool. It's
like,
so
even
cool
with
that
Clone Wars, like even with the animated projects, like taking it a step further, it's like I remember that I had like 1,000 little action figures or minis of clone troopers fighting across vast battlefields and different planets in my mind's eye, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely what Ryloth looks like. Or, yeah, this is what the battle on Felucia looked like that we saw like briefly in the Order 66 scene. It's like,
yeah.
So yeah, last episode was, of course, the big Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer breakdown. And we found, I think, most of the Easter eggs and most of the stuff that I think we wanted to talk about. And I think we noticed almost everything except for this. And I think a lot of people actually missed it. But if you look at the top left corner where the two halves connect, you can actually see the same shuttle that Vader uses, the Lambda-class shuttle, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So is he actually at the Fortress Inquisitorius, or is that just another random shuttle that the Empire is using and Vader's not there? And of course we saw the chair, the really big chair that looked like Vader's castle. So
I mean, he's there in Fallen Order.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, him being there is not out of the ordinary. Plus, isn't that like the torture area where they actually make Inquisitors?
Yeah, it is not out of character because of the other thing, which I'm kind of excited to see of the dynamic of Vader and the Inquisitors, because Vader despises them. He does not have any friendship with them. He it's not like Vader has any friends during this point because he like hates his life and like just everything and what he's become, but Vader despises the Inquisitors because of he sees them low key as a threat, like towards him being the apprentice to the Emperor, and it's going to be interesting to see if when we do see Vader and them, if he will be more respectful of them or if he'll be like how he is in the comics where he gets mad at them and starts like fighting them because of they didn't listen to him.
I mean, I feel like that is a very viable thing whenever you have a bunch of quote unquote Sith or dark side users within a room of each other, right? Because that entire side of the Force is fueled by like hate and anger and sorrow. So you figure when people with red blades start clashing heads, that it would always turn into like a contest of strength to see if one of them is going to overthrow the other and take their place as like a dark lord or whatever.
That's a fair assumption. I mean,
Right.
it's a lot. I think
Yeah.
it's a lot of.
Makes sense that we would see them fight. I'd love to see two Sith fight on screen. I think that'd be great. Loved it when Maul and Savage fought Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
I just started re-watching the Clone Wars, and honestly, I think a lot of people should, especially that last. All right, so in season 6, there's a 3-episode arc of where Yoda, like actually, begins his training to like become a Force ghost, and Liam Neeson actually comes back and voices Qui-Gon Jinn and everything, and it's done in a beautiful way. I highly suggest watching that because that will definitely connect straight to Kenobi. Because of that one line where Yoda, tells Obi-Wan that he has connected with Qui-Gon, and that Qui-Gon wants to teach you how you can become one with the Force and the Ghost and everything. So I think that's a great tie-in, and I highly suggest watching it. I just highly suggest watching the Clone Wars in general because it's such a great show.
Yeah. Here's all of these great characters you're going to get attached to. They're all dead. It's like, no. Go watch Clone Wars specifically for the Ventress arc. Oh, what a good character. Love Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see their full on interaction. I feel like we have to have a little bit of an explanation episode ish thing happening, because this is still like we know who Inquisitors are, but if it's live action, we got to explain all that again. But I do really find it really cool if this is to be able to see on live action the place from the game. I would love to see this as that's very. I'm very hype on anything from the game being put place in live action, because then that because like there's levels of canon for us. I feel like we have levels of canon. We got like animated series, and then like just one above it is going to be anything with live action. Anything on live action becomes super light like canon, and I feel anything from the video game being placed in this full live action canon makes me extremely happy. Getting close to having Cal would be crispy.
Yeah, that planet's called Nur, right? Yeah, Nur.
And you are, yeah.
Nur.
I will say, I wonder, as far as like their description of the Inquisitorius, if we're just gonna get like a little one-off dialogue of someone speaking to Kenobi and like explaining to him like who the Inquisitors are, what they're all about, and like what their Jedi kill count or something is. And
I don't think Obi-Wan will.
The rest of the screen do the talking.
I don't think Obi-Wan will kind of be blind. Like he won't be going in blind, like being like, who are these people? I think secretly he will be like kind of knowing things, like because of kind of hearing rumors, like of every time he like ends up going to Mos Eisley or something, and he's just hearing people talk. So I think he'll know kind of the sudden movements of the Empire. And I think when like he does see the Inquisitors, I don't think he'll be entirely surprised. I think he'll be like, oh, okay, here you are. I was kind of expecting this to happen one day, because of Obi-Wan wouldn't be on Tatooine guarding Luke, like if he didn't know that one day someone would go and like go after them. So it would make sense that Obi-Wan would know these things in some way.
No, that's fair. That makes complete and total sense. I figure he may like inquire about it though, and I figure we'll get some like dialogue from him either going and searching for those answers, trying to find out who they are, because I feel like the Inquisitors are somewhat of a relatively well guarded secret of the Empire, or at least it seems, because in every like media that we have Inquisitors, the main characters of that media are like, oh, who are these people with red blades that spin? Like they always seem so surprised to run into them, and they're like, we're Sith Inquisitors. And eventually the main characters are like, these are the people we've heard so much about that go off and hunt down Jedi and whatnot. But no one ever seems to have either survived or run into an Inquisitor.
So, what do you guys think of the Grand Inquisitor's look in the trailer?
Here we go.
Does leave a lot
that
to
can of
be
worms,
desired. I can't understand why the comment that I keep hearing so much is that it can't be as accurate to the animated series. And
But honestly, it can.
But we've seen it before.
Yes.
In live action, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
tons and tons of photos of people just doing it fan edits, and they've all been great.
Like this one?
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful fan edit.
I mean, and the reason why like people are saying that is because of, if you look at that one, like of the actual like of the actual edit of where it shows like his head is like larger like in the show, it's because of that's how that species is. They have long, like kind of long heads. It's not short and round like a human head like we see in the in the trailer. And the other thing that I keep saying, which I think a lot of people are agreeing with, is Jason Isaacs should have been not Jason,
should have reprised
Jacob.
his role.
Jacob Isaacs should have reprised his role.
Jason.
Is it Jason or Jacob?
Jason Isaacs, I believe.
Okay. Well, he's the person that played Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter series,
right?
And
I think he was actually asked and he turned it down. I don't think he wants anything to do with Star Wars.
I demand to know.
Yeah, I've heard stuff about him being asked about Star Wars stuff. He's like, I don't care. I don't care about Star Wars. So.
I honestly think that would have been terrific because he's no stranger to playing a villain. I just because of he's a remarkable actor, and I remember watching Rebels, and that was so enticing of hearing his voice and matching to that character. It was awesome, and hopefully we actually see that in the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. I think that would be really, really cool to see him show up in that game. Because at that point, Vader's fighting other battles, and I don't know if you know what. That's a great question, Josh. Do you think for the next game, Vader should be the main villain, or do you think it would be the Grand Inquisitor or something else?
I think it's going to be something else because they're going far outer rim.
Okay.
Do we know if there's anything going on in the outer rim yet? I feel like
during this time, because it also depends on, because of what would be great is if Cal ends up making a cameo in this show, and then the game continues shortly after he shows up in the show, and then it's a couple of years after the first game, and then he's more on the run, but he's more organized than he was before, and maybe
because he goes off to go start his own, pick up other Force users.
Yeah.
When does the beginning, season 1 of Rebels start taking place?
5 years after Kenobi, I believe.
5 years after? So
yeah.
That's going on
because of the end of Rebels. Because of the end of Rebels,
Solo's a year before Kenobi.
Yeah. So that's going on. Han Solo's beginning to establish his legacy.
Yeah.
That's why in the trailer, when we see the guy in the alley and that's dark, where we don't see his head.
I don't think it's Han.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, people are speculating.
That'd be so funny.
That would be so random. That would be so random because of
Chewbacca. Just throw him in there.
Well, Chewbacca doesn't have a tie to Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, he knew Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
Right, because of the Clone Wars, though. Because of the Clone Wars, because of Ahsoka has also met Chewie. They ended up going on a whole adventure. Anakin has met Chewie. Yoda has met Chewie. All these characters have met.
They're gonna throw someone out of left field like Tarful or something like that.
Yeah.
And you also have to factor in that Joby Harold wrote this script. It wasn't Favreau and Filoni that had detailed input. They had input, which we'll kind of talk about in a bit, but it was Joby Harold who basically wrote it along with Deborah Chow. So
I wonder how much their restriction is with this character. That's what I'm very curious on seeing is how far they can really push new ideas within our established Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
That's going to
Because
be
of
something very interesting. To
I
see.
think they actually have a lot of freedom. It's just like the fine details that have to be double, triple, quadruple checked by the story team.
Okay.
they have to be
That
careful. They honestly have to be careful because if they slip anything up,
'Cause
that
in my opinion, I think that's why Boba Fett wasn't what we all had wanted as much, is because I feel like
They had
it
too
was
much
so
freedom.
restricted. No,
Oh,
like
really?
it was restricted towards of what they could have done. Like it had like a path it was going to follow, because we know Robert Rodriguez, like his movies are completely like he writes them. It's everything his, and we're gonna all shoot it like like all this kind of stuff. It's just like go go go, and like whatever happens around the way. This felt like Boba Fett felt like there was so much planning, and it was just like both of them kind of fighting back and forth of what they wanted to do. So like directing, and then no, it has to go this way, and he's like, "Yep, okay, I'll direct this bit, I'll direct that bit." But I didn't feel like I would say I couldn't tell that it was Robert Rodriguez. Like I couldn't sit there and go, "That's
No.
his directing." However, I can say that for the episode that they did in The Mandalorian, because they were like, "Here, do what you want." And I felt like that really felt like they were doing what they wanted, instead of like a whole series where you have to follow certain plot points and beats and stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that's everyone's kind of sentiment towards the Book of Boba Fett. It's like we kind of got something that we didn't think we were going to get. It was we saw how like awesome Boba Fett was in his introduction in that episode 6 of Mando season 2, and I think we all thought we are going to get that type of action and grit and ferocity that we were kind of expecting. But of course, Tamir Morrison is an older actor as well, and he went through that trauma of being in the Sarlacc pit. We've spoken about this before, but yeah, I mean, the story kind of served his age and kind of what he went through, and kind of is what it is. But yeah, speaking of the trailer as well, we all called it. I think we talked about how Obi-Wan was on his way to work potentially, and when they showed the first scene of him on that bus to work, we see the skyline of a city in the distance, and apparently reports are that city in the back is Anchorhead. So we're finally get to see Anchorhead in live action. So what do you guys think about that?
That would be really cool.
I think that kind of brings the circle complete for Tatooine, because of what other towns are there unless they make up something like
perfect.
Freetown.
So now we can just leave this place forever. Just let this Tatooine go after this series. I would be happy.
I know my wife would be happy.
We'll show everything, literally every inch and corner of this planet if we have to.
And then we never have to go back.
Perfect.
But I guarantee we will go back like in season 3 of Mando, because of Boba's still on that planet, like being in charge. So
I feel like there's gonna be a lot more to do with I like how there's a lot more planets to deal with in this series that we've seen. There's so many varied landscapes, and they're completely different to each other. Like I forget what the new planet is. Is it a new planet? The one that like looks like Cyberpunk Hong Kong?
Oh, it's all like neon.
Yeah. So that one comparatively to Tatooine, they're like exact opposites. And I love that, being able to see that on screen, and I hope that we get to see a lot more of these different varied landscapes.
Now, I never played. I haven't finished Fallen Order. I haven't finished it yet. I know. I have no.
Oh my goodness!
I'm working on it. It's hard.
I just started it myself, so yeah. I'm not
what, David?
But the planet that the Inquisitorius is based off of, the Nur. That seems to be a mostly water-based planet too, right? Which like directly contrasts both of those environments.
Exactly.
Beautiful urban sprawling cityscape, and then we have that water planet, and then we have Tatooine. I think you make a really good point with just like how much landscape and scenery we're going to get to see out of this.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then we'll probably get Mustafar as well, which is fire.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yeah,
literally fire.
You said Mustafar's fire.
So I'm calling it right now. I think we will see Coruscant not only in flashbacks, but right now the Emperor has turned the has turned the Jedi Temple into like the Emperor's palace.
I would love to see that in live action. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. All these old like nostalgic places.
Oh my
seeing
gosh,
them
bro.
turned
Yeah.
into Empire side would be amazing to see on screen.
But
Another
the
thing
only
happening, Bad
but-
Batch, going on right now. I think.
Well, okay. Kind of trying back to what I was talking about is that the Emperor's palace is there, right?
Sorry, continue.
But technically, if you look back in the Return of the Jedi like special edition, like of the stuff they got on Disney Plus, and they show like you know all the planets celebrating like in Coruscant and Bespin and all that stuff. If you look on Coruscant, you can see the Jedi Temple still back there. Like intact, and it's not like the Emperor's palace, but I think it is still canon that they turned like in the books and stuff that they turned the Emperor's palace. I mean that they turned the Jedi Temple into the Emperor's like palace. So I'm curious if maybe they'll retcon that and maybe move it to a different area, because the whole point was having the Jedi Temple like as like as an old relic, and the Emperor just built over it and turn it into like his fortress.
Mhm.
So that's something to definitely talk about. People in the comment section, if you know something that I don't, let me know. But as far as I know, that's what it's up to date.
I would like to see stuff like that as well. I think some of my favorite moments from recent Star Wars history has been going and revisiting planets. Whenever like the shadow of the Empire falls over the galaxy, like and Bad Batch, sort of moving on to those last episodes when they bombed Camino into the water. It was like, oh my God, like the nostalgia of that place, and they're just annihilating it. They're just ripping apart my childhood in front of my eyes. I do want more of that. I think that was really cool. I would love to see eventually a series like how the Empire established roots on Yavin and got the base there.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, the Empire or the Rebels?
The Empire, like how they had that shield base established off of. Did I say Yavin?
Yeah.
I meant
Endor.
Endor.
There
Yeah,
you
you're
go.
good.
Endor,
Yeah. You know, I was confused, but
my
they actually didn't
Endor.
do that. They actually didn't do that until after the first Death Star blew up, and then after the second one, then they actually moved it over towards the moon and like that planet, and then they established like shortly after Empire Strikes
shield
Back.
base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'd love to start seeing stuff like that, like
Yeah.
how all these crazy things came to be.
So yeah,
Crazy,
the
crazy.
Hollywood Reporter reported on this, and Colin touched on it earlier.
I'm sorry.
The fact that Kenobi had Darth Maul in the original script, and going
As
all
the
the way
main
back
thing,
to when Solo premiered, it didn't do that great at the box office. They had plans for a Kenobi movie. So I think that is what they're referring to, that original Kenobi movie script. So yeah, that would have been interesting, but apparently the latest update is that information is not correct. Darth Maul or Maul was never a part of the Kenobi story whatsoever. Different sources, different people, even Pablo Hidalgo has tweeted about the fact that that's just plain wrong. Darth Maul was never involved in Kenobi whatsoever. It was always Vader, actually. So I think Hollywood Reporter kind of got one wrong there, which Hollywood Reporter is a trade, and they are usually right 99% of the time. But this seems to be just kind of a story they ran that wasn't factual. But yeah, I met Ray Park in during a signing close to where I live, and I brought up a Crimson Dawn series, and he kind of just like stopped and he like stared at me, and I was like, "Whoa, did I hit on something?" But there's no plans or any rumors about a Crimson Dawn series. I think they're talking about it. I mean, everything. The popular saying is you can fill a stadium full of stuff that Lucasfilm is talking about doing,
Mhm.
So I think so. We're all clear. Yeah, Maul was never going to be a part of Kenobi, and we won't see him at all, or maybe there's a mention of him. At this point, he'd be one of the Crimson Dawn kind of bosses, I guess. But as far as him showing up in the show, yeah.
Okay, so a couple of years back, like around the time of the Force Unleashed, which Josh knows about this because I remember us talking about this, but maybe they like continue to work on it. Is they had a Darth Maul game, like fully out in the works, and then they just canceled it. I think they could fill in that gap by doing a Darth Maul game, and kind of filling in that gap of where, of where he is working with Kira closely and kind of building up more of the Crimson Dawn stuff, and then how it kind of slowly falls, and then it gets imprisoned by Vader. Because I think something I can see like in Kenobi is where we see it early on, is where like Maul is imprisoned by Vader and the Inquisitors, because of that was that definitely happened at some point, and then Darth Maul escaped them. And I think it would be really, really cool if like in Kenobi we like saw him imprisoned, and then somehow like Kenobi goes there. He like doesn't see Darth Maul. Darth Maul doesn't know that he's there either, and he ends up fighting Vader or something like that. And then somehow like during that chaos, Darth Maul does escape, and then he like he leaves and books it, and then that leads to his story in Rebels. Because of that would definitely be like a really, really cool moment of Darth Maul just being in a prison cell and just kind of sitting there, and Darth Vader and then Maul just like kind of talking it out. I think that would be something talked about a lot, like and after that episode came out or something.
I can Maul video game would be awesome.
Having Maul talk about his visions, with Vader.
Oh man,
yeah, I think that'd be very cool.
That would be good.
So cool.
Well, because we have seen, and that would be such an interesting parallel to the time that we have previously seen him in prison, which was when Ahsoka had him in prison in that like ancient Mandalorian cell when Order 66 went down, and they were talking back and forth about things like pre-Order 66. I think it would be really cool to see the parallel to that of him talking to Darth Vader, sort of the like one of the moral parallels to Ahsoka's story post Order 66, and what that was like for Vader, and see where all that goes. I think it would be really cool.
There is a lot to look forward to in the future. I think everyone is expecting a lot of stuff, and I think we'll get everything that we want and more. Because again, this is the most highly anticipated show that they're probably ever going to do on Disney Plus for a long time, and this has also been like the number one thing people have been requesting. So it honestly would make sense.
Yeah, it does feel like we're going to get spin-offs from Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have confidence that we're going to get some type of Vader spin-off. I think Hayden Christensen is going to be in more than just Kenobi and Ahsoka.
I could see them doing like a whole show about Maul too. I could definitely see them doing that.
Now with this rumor, Lucasfilm is seeing like the interest in Maul. I mean, they had to have already known that there's a lot of interest in that character.
Yeah, it should be pretty high currently.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he was killed though in Rebels.
Yeah, it is true. Yes, but not live action.
Yes, so I think it was a fitting in.
Not live action, so
it was Filoni's decision, so I think it's going to carry over no matter what.
I think that was a fitting end to Maul's story, though.
Yeah, I agree.
A very good ending. Agree. I think that was right where it needed to be.
I was kind of glad it wasn't like a fancy fight. Yeah, because of that episode definitely paid homage to George Lucas of what his image was, which was Star Wars being a space opera, like an old samurai movie and old westerns, and that whole fight of Obi-Wan transitioning from his classic Obi-Wan pose to his Qui-Gon Jinn's pose, and then Maul tried to repeat the same move that he did to Qui-Gon all those years ago, and Obi-Wan instantly like caught on it, and then he defeated him. I thought that was like a simple fight that was sweet and short, but also it sent like a big message of like you grow as a person as you grow in age, and you also learn from your mistakes. And I think that's why that fight was beautiful.
So much development showed in that in that fight. So much development between two huge characters.
Plus, I love the conversation at the end.
Yeah.
Is he the chosen one? Yeah.
That also confused a lot of people because they were like, wait, are they talking about Luke? Are they talking about Anakin? And I just remembered that being like a main talk for a while. But I love Sam Witwer as Maul. I thought he, like, Ray Park did great as like of bringing the character to life in live action in person and stuff. But Sam Witwer actually doing the lines for it, and then then the fact that we actually got to see that in Solo of the voice connected to live action Maul, that was amazing. And I really, really hope that we get to see that soon again, because even Ray Park came back to do the motion capture for that fight in Clone Wars, and you could definitely tell that was Ray Park, and it was awesome. So I want to see more of that. I 100% want to see more of that.
Yeah, I'd 100% like go and watch a Maul series. I want more Maul. I want to see him doing what he does best.
He definitely is one of the most popular Star Wars characters, but I don't know. In my personal opinion, I would love to see something with Ahsoka, but I feel like his story stays within, like, it stretches all of Star Wars, and I think that's very cool. I don't know if having him again in live action would work. Like, I don't think a series would work because we know almost everything besides the Crimson Dawn stuff. I think the Crimson Dawn stuff is as close as you're going to get to having something live action that I would like to see on screen. But then again,
I think a game would maybe work better because of there are so many games that they canceled that they could either turn into a show or go back and like just change a couple of things to add more to canon. Because there's the game 1313 was going to be a beautiful game. That would follow the story of Boba Fett, but then when they continue his story in the Clone Wars, it kind of went in a different direction. So they could definitely change some things and go back to those old games because of that Darth Maul game looked so cool and so exciting, and then it just kind of poof, like just disappeared.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea, Colin, to have a Darth Maul game.
It was
You can revive 1313 too. I think Lucasfilm has a lot of stuff they can still mine that I think the fans would go crazy for.
Yeah.
But would you want these games to be canon, or would you be okay with them?
Canon.
I'm all about the canon, for sure.
I'm all about the canon. I love Legends. If they can bring stuff from Legends into canon, like they've been slowly doing over the years, then I'm fine with it. But I don't like
some of the best Star Wars game content isn't canon. Especially
Force Unleashed is
a fine example of that.
I think you could actually get away with doing a Maul game very much in the style of Force Unleashed.
Yeah,
like I would do that in a heartbeat. Like being able to like saber throw and then like hack and slash your way through a bunch of people.
Right, but really that's awesome. Honestly what Jedi Fallen Order is, except it's got more puzzles in it. Like I feel like the Force Unleashed was just an outline for Jedi Fallen Order. I think that's exactly what it really was. I think if they did a Darth Maul game, I would love to dive deeper into canon because of one thing. Like a really good example is Visions. I like Visions, but I don't like that none of it's canon. So it's like you like can't be like, okay, I'm gonna watch this, and then I'm gonna watch like the main Star Wars. Like you can't do that because it's not Legends. It's not technically Legends. It's like going to go watch a New Hope and then watch the holiday special, and which everyone does. But it's just like it's not technically canon, so it's not like fulfilling your like need for like adding it to the canon timeline of when you're watching stuff, because it's not like I'll go and watch Clone Wars and stuff, and then maybe something that isn't canon, because it's
Mike
like
Tartakovsky's Clone Wars.
yeah.
Oh,
See, that's
But-
my Clone Wars.
man.
But that was cool. I love the
Tartakovsky's
micro series,
Clone
and like
Wars.
So
honestly,
good.
So
if
good.
you watch the
That's my.
by the
grievance
way,
right there.
I can hear myself echo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if anyone you can hear, but I can hear myself echo. I don't know if that's a thing. But
You sound good to me.
okay.
I hear a little
Well,
bit of echo.
Yeah. Is that coming from you, Josh? No, it's just me. All right, cool. Okay. So I think one thing that they could definitely do is maybe bring in more stuff that was Legends that into canon like faster, because of there was that scene in Clone Wars of where it was the Mortis arc, and the son was like, and in the lead scene he was talking to Darth Malik and he was talking to Darth Raven, and then they cut that, and I was like, oh no, come on, man, like that would have been
we got
so
a little
cool.
bit of that. Like, I don't know if anyone noticed, but in the last season of Clone Wars, there was an assault.
Season 6, right? Or no?
Season 7 of Clone
Okay.
Wars. It's a very little thing, and a lot of people did not catch it because I didn't see a lot of buzz about it. But Obi-Wan and Anakin get pulled to Coruscant for a final siege that has been targeted at the capital, and Chancellor Palpatine has been captured, which is the exact plot point from Tartakovsky's Clone Wars. That was taken directly from Tartakovsky's, because they even mentioned that Shakti was with the Chancellor and was safeguarding his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever Ahsoka called Obi-Wan, he was like, General Grievous has launched a final assault on Coruscant, and Shakti is with the Chancellor. We need to get over there right now. I'm sorry we can't send any troops. So, like, that plot line directly parallels. And it is cool that they took that thread from Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which so many people loved, took that and spun it directly into canon, and now we don't know, because it's on screen, what exactly transpires, how much of that is canon. But I think that was a very tasteful way for them to do that, and I think we'll see that a lot more. Like, they know they're plotting these things out, they have an ideas. Like, they're also Star Wars fans, so I'm sure we'll see more.
Yeah, and poor Shakti. I mean, she's been killed so many different ways, and so many different storylines.
Stabbed in the back so many times.
Yeah, because of, I think the actual canon one is her getting killed by Anakin in the Jedi Temple. I think that's the canon one, because of there was also the deleted scene that they did for Revenge of the Sith, where like Grievous
Grievous
like had her on a
killed
ship,
her on
and
the
then, like,
flagship.
Yep. And
Generations,
then
yeah.
and then there's the one from like the original Star Wars Lego game where like Anakin comes up behind and just fully out like cuts her in half, and then like yeah. So I think that one is
Star Wars Lego is canon?
Some of it is.
It comes out.
Isn't some of it? Some of it is actually.
Yeah, the
like, does
yes.
somebody introduce a new canon? Like,
It's-
obviously, I know that like the original Lego
it's
Star
weird.
Wars
It's like
Lego
a
3
coincidence
tells the
than
story
canon.
of Star Wars.
It's called like shadow. It's like shadow canon or something, where they can reference something in, like something
Yes.
new can be in Lego. Like, let's say there's a droid, right? They can reference that droid. That droid's now canon, but what it does in the Lego universe isn't canon.
It's not canon.
But the droid itself is
that's
canon.
Right.
weird. So
Right.
it's like
So-
Schrodinger's canon. Oh, I
That
hate
is-
that.
That actually, I love that, because of, if you watch the
That's wild.
Lego, the new Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, like the whole thing with Max Rebo, like that is like a fine example of that. And I know that's like in character for me to say, but that is a fine
Of course.
example of,
Right. And it is a
you
good
know,
example. You're correct.
of that being, kind of shadow canon. But then you look at the whole time travel thing where you've got 3 versions of Obi-Wan Kenobi right next to each other, like that never happened. But then there's like some things where like, you know, where like Rey is kind of trying to like train Finn. Like that is, you know, shadow canon. So there are some things which I yeah, and then there's the reference to the holiday special and Mando and Book of Boba Fett, where Boba makes the reference to the giant dinosaur that he rides. Where they're like, oh, it's a Rancor, and he's like, I have rode a lot larger things. Yeah, and it's just like boom, holiday special reference. So
we see a lot of examples of that.
Yeah.
I would really like to see, especially with the arc that happened in Rebels, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, where Ahsoka or Ezra, whatever, when they open up the portal and it's like going through time, I would love to see a whole series about Star Wars What If, where it's like them pulling open, or someone like pulling open that portal and being like, well, here's what happened in an alternate dimension. Here's what would have happened if Order 66 didn't go down. If the Empire never got formed.
Or if Anakin never turned.
Like if Anakin never turned.
Qui-Gon never died.
Yeah. I think that would be such an interesting series to explore. And I know that I've talked to a few people, at least Star Wars fans, that would be 100% on board for that.
I think people make a lot of fan fiction of that because I've seen a lot of pictures,
Star Wars
drawings of like Anakin.
Star Wars Theory would be out of a channel if that.
Oh yeah. Star Wars Theory.
Yeah.
Never mind. Cut it.
Yeah. If they ended up doing that, he would probably like still do news, but I feel like he would be like, well, if I do this theory, they like might turn it into an episode. I don't know what to do because I could totally see him like doing that, and that would be like a whole debacle. If they ended up doing a show like that, that would be something. I feel like there would be a war going on.
He knows what the fans want. Just hire him. Bring him on board.
So speaking of people coming on board here, one of my favorite people and a huge Star Wars fan, Damon Lindelof, is rumored to be working on a project that's untitled, unspecified. We have zero details, but the rumor is he's been either seen or there's some connection to him. I would 100% be happy with him working on something Star Wars. There's a really cool and interesting story how he got in the business. He did a podcast like 10 years ago or something where he talked about how he made the best fashion choice of his life. He met with J.J. Abrams actually at, I think, Bad Robot Studios, and he was trying to pitch some ideas, and of course the idea he was pitching was lost, and of course that went down as history as one of the greatest television shows, no matter what your opinion is on it. But
horrible ending, but go on.
So yeah, he actually wore his old nightshirt. He was a member of Bantha Tracks when he was a kid, and they sent him a shirt that was too big for him, so he just wore it as a nightshirt when he went to bed every night. But as an adult, he grew into it, so he decided to wear that shirt to that pitch meeting. And J.J. Abrams spotted it immediately. He said Bantha Tracks as he was like just waiting in the lobby, and they connected right there, and they just started talking, and they built a rapport. He brought him in the meeting, pitched Lost, and they decided to do Lost. And Damon Lindelof has done a lot of interesting things. He's worked with a lot of interesting filmmakers. He's worked with Ridley Scott. He just did Watchmen on HBO, which was one of the greatest limited series I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm totally psyched to see him come on board. And like I said, he's a huge Star Wars fan. He knows how to tell a story. And what are your guys' thoughts?
Admittedly, I don't know much about him, so I'm going to let y'all take the floor on this one.
It's
and not as much as I should.
Him doing that, would you like a very serious take on a series? Because I feel like didn't we get the newest squadron Is that like up in the air if that's going to happen or not? Or is
It's
that-
happening. 2023, directed by Patty Jenkins, Rogue Squadrons. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that will be serious though. I think a fine example of a serious Star Wars project would be Rogue One.
Rogue One.
That was
Rogue
more
One.
serious. Like I think it's
Yeah.
probably one of the most serious shows that you could really compare it
And
to. Besides,
that's
Bring
what
the
I'm-
wars back to Star Wars.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I say I think he would be able to show that, or like because he's like Watchmen. I feel like you get a lot more of that character grounded, not so much as we have all these big players, but you get to see the little people and how much war really affects them over the years. I think that would be very cool.
I think this goes like immediately back to the topic that we were just discussing last Wednesday or the Wednesday before, where we were talking about like a series of Star Wars like war movies, right? Like I know that there would be a huge audience for that, and I know there is a huge audience for Star Wars adult content. People want it, like people want it really bad. Whether that's just diehard fans or
I
with
kind of agree.
series
with
like The
half of that,
Mandalorian's
though.
coming out.
Yeah, I
see-
mean the adult content part. I don't think Star Wars will ever kind of delve
Fully
into that. I
commit
think
to.
they'll do war stuff, but I mean it's going to be PG-13.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you're right.
I think
It said a lot that Star Wars is for kids.
Rogue,
so to
Rogue
speak,
One
by a lot of-
is 100% a much more serious take, and I feel like he would be able to do a much more serious take on Star Wars in general.
Yeah, I think he could direct or write right up to the edge of TVMA or PG-13.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
yeah, I mean, Rogue 2 is still on the table, man, with all the bombs.
Oh
Rogue
my
2.
goodness, no.
Yeah, Rogue 2. We finally find out what happened to all those Bothan spies.
Yeah, bring back the old band, bring back Mon Mothma. I mean, it's there, man. Old Death Star, Palpatine, Ian McDermott is game to come back. I mean, it writes itself.
Yeah, I would love to see more serious Star Wars content. Absolutely. I would love to see a Mace Windu series that is like taken very seriously. I think would be really cool about like what the history of that character is, or whatever the future of that character is if he survives getting shunted out of a window into
Okay,
the lower levels
so-
of Coruscant.
So that's something I actually did want to talk about because of Sam Jackson actually just recently had an interview where he was talking in the interview about, really wanting to come back as Mace Windu because of he recently did something with Bryce Dallas Howard. And bottom line, he was like, listen, I can learn how to use a lightsaber with my left hand. Like I will do anything. Like there's a long history of people getting thrown out of windows and getting thrown down like different areas and surviving. I can be one of those people. Bring me in. So Sam Jackson really, really wants to do it. And I think, there are a lot of people who are skeptical about it. I think if they do it right, I think it can work. I wanted him to come in Book of Boba Fett. I think that would have been a great tie-in because of the history that they have.
Mhm.
And Mando, if they do, it's got to tie in with Boba in some way. If they do it in Kenobi, it's got to, that would make more sense. But if it just shows up randomly in Mando and it has nothing to do with Boba, it's gonna be like, okay, you're just putting him in here to put him in here. Like it's got to work. Like it has to work. It just can't be like Sam Jackson. Here you go. Like it can't be like that.
And
Like,
that's why I like
make
to
sense.
see like his own dedicated series. I think it'd be a great idea to like dip the toe into the water by starting with a series of what we don't know about Mace Windu, developing his character and watching him grow into the Jedi Council Master that we see him.
I don't think we need a
in-
series on him. I don't think we need that because of if we do, because it's just diving into
Fallen Order cameo.
that would be fine, but it's just like kind of diving into what we thought. Okay, Boba Fett's a fine example, right? We all thought he was going to be like how he was in Empire Strikes Back, and then we were like slightly disappointed that he wasn't like the way that we want him to be. If we keep doing that with like these type of characters that are like kind of,
I 100% agree with that.
I guess that's
of-
fair.
you can't ruin Mace Windu, like you.
So
you like
I guess
can't-
that
you
also does
can't
make
give
sense.
Mace Windu he was kind of off-putting towards people because he was very strict, like towards the Jedi way. If you show him to where you can relate to Mace Windu, it's kind of like, especially at a younger age, it's going to take away that kind of sense of how he was in Attack of the Clones, in the Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith.
I don't know if we need to relate to him per se, but I get what you're saying, because the same thing happened with Solo. The same thing happened
Kestis
with,
meets
with Solo.
him
A lot of people.
somewhere.
Wait, who?
Cal Kestis meets him somewhere in the Outer Rim, chilling
See,
out. I could
that would
see
make
that.
sense.
Maybe.
That would make
Yeah.
sense, but I don't think Sam Jackson would like come in and do a game though. Like, maybe.
No, that's what I'm saying is like I think that I really feel like Cal Kestis would be very great to have on screen. Like I think it can work. And we've seen all the stuff that they can do in live action. And I don't know. I think he would come back just to, because he's done animated. Sam Jackson's done animated series before, so I wouldn't think that doing a game would be too hard for him just to voice anything.
No.
I mean, there's definitely a way they can bring Samuel L. Jackson back.
And I feel like it would be in Fallen Order.
Everyone wants to see more of Mace Windu. I don't know a single person who doesn't.
I don't think everyone wants to. Okay, because of something that's wrong with that statement is that there are a lot of Star Wars fans that are picky, that are not always like into that mainstream stuff. And I think, that if people say like, wait, like Mace Windu's back, why? And I mean, because of the like big thing that could happen is that randomly, near the end, maybe Mace Windu makes a cameo and he shows up at Obi-Wan's doorstep at the end of Kenobi, and then we don't hear anything for like a couple of years, and then people are like, why is he there? How is he there? What's going on? Or just random. So if he comes in, it's got to make sense, and they got to do it right. So in Boba Fett, that made the most sense to me because of those two characters have like the closest connection besides Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question that you have to ask is, if he does show up in the Book of Boba Fett, or he does show up in Mando, where was he this entire time during the fall of the Jedi Order and during all the chaos that was happening in Kenobi and the main original films? Like, where was Mace Windu? Why was he so disconnected from the Force and didn't have any contact with Yoda or any of the main characters? Like, Mace Windu was second to Yoda, so if they do add him, it's got to make sense. It just can't be like, all right, I've been hiding all these years, I'm back now, what's up?
Right.
Like,
yeah, you're correct, and I do think there is a way to do it. And when I say like bring Samuel L. Jackson back, I don't mean bring Mace Windu back like as a character after his death or whatever. Whether it's stories about him or a series about him or a movie about him or something, or a cameo, we can see him pre-Clone Wars. We can see him during the Clone Wars again in a live action way. We can see him past his death somewhere, but there is definitely a way to add him in that makes sense, and I think people want to see that.
Yeah, I actually posted that video that we're referencing for the Happy Sad Confused podcast. I think it was at South by Southwest, so it was just up the road from me. But one of our Facebook group members, Connor Johnson, he posted this. Dude got electrocuted and thrown out a window. God knows how high in the air. If they bring him back, awesome. I would love it, but I don't know how to justify him surviving that.
Well,
using the Force, landing on a speeder that's below.
Are you also forgetting the fact that the Emperor came back? Are you also forgetting the fact that Luke Skywalker, like barely trained as Mace Windu, fell all the way down like on Bespin and was holding on to an array?
Maul fell down a pit in two halves
and got
into
cut
a
in
garbage
half.
Into like
Mace
garbage.
Windu
not
is
a humanoid,
second.
Whatever.
I know, but Mace Windu is second to Yoda, so it's like you can justify it being by Mace Windu is a powerful Jedi, and there was a reason why he was like second in command pretty much on the Jedi Council. Like, it makes sense. So
Yeah, Very strong with the Force.
So
Yep.
Celebration tickets went on sale.
Yeah, let's
And-
go.
Yeah.
And myself, Colin,
Lucky you all.
and I think we're the only two on the podcast right now that are going, right?
Currently, yeah.
Well, on this, yes, because of you, me, James, and Sam have all
Matt,
4-day passes, and then Matt, Brooke have a Friday and Saturday pass. But I did try to convince Josh to go, and I did try to convince Mason to go, but they all have busy schedules
and no money.
Oh well.
Would you like a small loan? I'll get you there.
Yeah,
I'll take a small loan.
There's plenty of banks in Orlando that'll give you a small loan.
No,
but yeah,
I
tickets
just
went back on
take
sale.
money off of Loan Shark Josh over here.
So yeah, 4-day tickets sold out. The Saturday tickets sold out. And of course, they had VIP tickets, and that automatically sold out. So
and that happens every time. I really hope people followed my advice where like you did not refresh the page, because if you did, it puts you like way back in the queue.
Yeah, it actually did something interesting this time around. It showed sold out on the 4-day passes.
Yes.
But the Star Wars Twitter for Celebration came back and made a tweet stating that keep on trying, because that's just people that have the tickets in their cart at that moment in time. And for people that the time elapsed, those tickets would become available again.
Right.
And one of our Patreon subscribers actually pulled that off. He commented in our Facebook group, all the 4 days were gone. And I simply told him, just hang around, refresh it. Star Wars Twitter said, just refresh it, just wait. You might have a chance. And he got his 4-day pass. So we're glad that we're going to get to see him in May now. So
yeah,
super psyched for that. But yeah, I mean, Celebration, it's right around the corner. We'll be there. I think most of the podcasts, right? You listed everyone off. Me, Colin, James, Brooke, possibly Ray.
Yeah.
Matt and Sam. So that's like 7 people right there.
Yep, it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited for it. There will be the live streams. But yeah, no, it's such a cool convention. And then next year, like the rumors that it's gonna be in Orlando, it's gonna be a lot easier for some people.
Is that the rumor?
Yeah,
that would be great.
I think that would be very interesting. You'd see there'd be a lot more. Like I think a travel date to Batu would be amazing with everyone.
That would be awesome.
Well, they are doing that for Disneyland for this celebration, and the reason why it would make sense is because of the Halcyon and stuff and everything going on here, and plus Celebration has happened in Orlando at least 3 times, so it honestly makes sense for them to come back here for a 4th, and then also for all of the celebrities like coming, they all love going to Disney World, so it honestly would make sense. And the convention center here is beautiful. It's big. It's right next to everything, so it honestly would make sense.
Big is an understatement.
What?
It sounds big is an understatement. That convention center in Orlando is like the size
massive,
of my town.
man. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Oh man, that was so cool because of like it honestly is such a cool experience, and like I want everyone to at least like experience it in the future. And if it comes here next year, boom, like there you go. Because I know so many people here that wanted to go this year besides Josh and Mason, and they couldn't because it's like it's short notice, it's kind of out there, so it makes sense. But if it ends up being in Florida next year, that would be so cool.
Also, we applied for the podcast stage for Celebration this year, so hopefully we get approved for that. And
awesome.
Again,
represent.
You can hear Colin talk about Max Rebo in person
live,
because that's the dream. That's why everyone is wanting to go to Star Wars Celebration. Why? Because I'm gonna have Max Rebo merch all over the place.
You can see Colin.
There's truth to that.
Cosplay as Max Rebo live.
I am working on that. Probably won't happen for this celebration. Next celebration, most likely.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it honestly is so cool. It's such a fun experience, and we talk about it in every podcast because it's why the podcast exists. Like we wouldn't be here if we never went.
So are your hands going to be your feet or vice versa?
Thank you. This question.
Are you doing?
I literally had this exact same ask question.
Are you doing the?
Oh my gosh!
Or are you doing the canonized?
This is canon. This is canon right here. Arms and legs.
Sure he's
just like this.
This is
that.
This is him all the time.
The thing that Josh is talking about is the original design that they had, but
he's sitting on a pillow, right?
What?
So he's not sitting on a pillow. Then what is that?
No. That is okay. So they actually made it. They actually made it. It was 3 people like actually doing the puppet for it, but then it became very difficult and kind of unpractical and set. So they're like, okay, we'll just go back. This because it makes more sense. And then that's what they went through. Now there are some members of Max Rebo's species that are like that, but Max Rebo is classic arms and legs and a diaper. Like
speaking of practicality, I'm really curious to see how you're gonna get the whole instrument together and carry that around with you. I'm really excited.
Don't worry.
Like one of those like little baby stroller things, like
oh yeah, like the little bouncy.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be like a big version of that. Perfect.
He's gonna be wheeling around a xylophone around a convention center.
Beautiful.
You better learn how to play some music too.
How dare you? I know how to play the.
What's his instrument called? That's actually a good question.
Space piano. I don't know.
Space piano.
Classic.
Space organ.
All the way from the underworld of Coruscant. You know, he was just a small elephant, and one day he just walked into the space instrument shop, and he saw that, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to be the lead of the Max Rebo band.
First of all, David, that's a jizz piano to you. Get the terminology right.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot.
He can play more than jizz on that piano.
Why? Why is that canon though? Like, why? Who thought of it?
Happy to be here to be the sponsor for that word every time I get the opportunity to.
Max Rebo, master jazz pianist.
Master jazz pianist. I want more series in Star Wars that delve into the musical aspect of Star Wars.
Stop.
Why can't we have good canonized Star Wars music that I can listen to on my way to work?
That is something very interesting. Is I think Fallen Order has some of the greatest new.
Oh
Star
yeah,
yeah,
no, that opening song it was like, oh man,
Visions.
It was done so well.
The entire episode that was about a band. Like, why can't we have something like that about like a rock
favorite
get out of here.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. I want to know who the Dave Grohl is of Star Wars.
I think it would be cool to be able to have that in Galaxy's Edge the most. Like is to have live bands that aren't just in the canteen.
We could have like live cameos of like celebrity artists, like musical artists in Star Wars doing things, creating music for Star Wars. Awesome,
Mason, no. Yes! I don't want to go in.
Yes, I will.
I don't want to go in and see like Justin Bieber like wearing like.
I don't need Justin Bieber.
I don't need Justin Bieber dressing up
as a professional jizz whaler, Justin Bieber.
I can
Who's
see
the
him
Frank
showing
Sinatra
up.
Of Star Wars?
I could see him showing up as a Rhodian or something, and just being like, okay, why? And then you have
celebrities
coming all the way from the Outer Rim territories. Here's Jason Derulo, and it's like, what? And we like, why?
It doesn't need to be like that. Like, obviously, like celebrities that are like incognito and dressed all.
Oh my goodness!
Right, like it's a Sabrak or whatever. But
Mason,
seriously, though, I would like to hear experience about Star Wars music.
All right, guys, the time that we've all been waiting for, Mr. Galen Howard. Let's give him a
Yeah,
big round of applause.
Time to come in.
Welcome, Mr. Howard. How are you doing?
Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
You might be on mute.
How about now?
Oh,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I just had to-
Perfect.
yeah, flip the switch. I always forget that. All righty.
Good to
So,
see
yeah.
you.
Hey,
great-
hey,
great to
man.
meet you.
How are you
guys.
doing?
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for being flexible. You know, the life of an actor and all that shit.
It does happen to get in the way, I would believe. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, things change. You can think you're doing one thing, it's like never mind, you're doing something completely different. But here we are.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So
this
we
is
all
rad,
know
guys.
everyone that's listening to us and watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. We all know you from the Book of Boba Fett as
Oh,
the
there I am.
lost
There's
Escala
me.
desk clerk.
Yeah.
And immediately when I saw you on screen, I was like, "Oh my god, that hat! I gotta have that hat."
Yes.
Tell me you kept that hat.
Oh, come on. You know, everything is, you know, it's kind of, you can't get out with Star Wars contraband. You know, everything has like a homing device on it. You know, there's,
Yeah.
you know, you can, you know, you can't take pictures. You can't, you know, they wipe the dirt off your shoes when you leave, you know?
Wow.
Wow.
It's all accounted for. It makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah. No, it's, yeah. You know, like when, you know, when you would travel between sets, like all the actors they would throw monks robes over you, like little cloaks, so no one would see your costumes.
Yeah.
That is actually really cool. I did
It's
not know about that.
yeah. I mean, the mystery of it. It's like, yeah, you feel like you're working for the CIA or something, and in kind of a way you are. You know, I mean, at this point, but
So,
but yeah, no, it's pretty. Yeah, it was a surreal but awesome experience.
1 second professional actor, next second cultist walking through the streets of LA.
It just happens like that.
like,
Well, especially, you know, here in LA for sure. Yeah, here in LA it happens quicker than you think.
so
I keep hearing about LA.
Right. Oh yeah. We all hear the stories. You always have that one person who went to LA and then, you know, never heard from him again. You know.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So did you know like what character you were playing, or were they like, oh hey, listen, this is happening, put on the
they gave out very little information. I mean, I think you kind of gather, you know, from the you know, as you're on set, you know, you kind of glean little bits of information. You know, obviously, you know, I have you know, I'm playing opposite David Pasquazi's Major Domo Twilight character. You know, I'm you know, in the scene with in the scene with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. You know, you have all the major characters. You're aware of the whole universe, but yeah, and you know, so I think by the end of it, I realized like, okay, this is, you know, I think when I auditioned, it was, you know, they of course gave you no information. It was like City Hall desk clerk. That's all they gave you.
I do have a question about that. That's a perfect segue into a really like important question I have for you. Like, as a professional actor, like looking for an audition for this, did you know that you were auditioning for something Star Wars, or was it just like, here's this random link that has a weird Star Warsy script that's applied to it?
Well, it was you know, they, you know, when you audition, they gave, you know, you know, non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, all of that, you know. So, but it was, yeah, they, but you know, it was on, but yeah, they said like Disney, Disney Lucasfilm, so that kind of narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I could only be in two things: Indiana Jones or Star Wars.
Wait,
so,
no.
Yeah, I think it kind of narrows it down a little. And it was a series. So I was like, okay, I think I'm, you know, I through a little quick deduction, you know, I figured it out.
One time
but at that point they hadn't announced the Boba Fett show at that point. So so I wasn't sure if it was Mandalorian or one of the many you know, undisclosed projects that are in the works, you know, who knows. So I think it was, and I think in fact it was, if I remember correctly, it was after I shot that they made the official announcement. So I think up until then I was thinking, well, maybe it's Mandalorian or what have you, because Boba Fett was a recurring character in Mandalorian at that point, so had been introduced in that world. So it was so there were so many different options, but then you kind of figured out, okay, this is the next show. This is the next show being launched on in the Star Wars universe. So yeah, probably then Mandalorian's taking a year off. So it's like, okay, this is what it is.
Okay,
but that was all through deduction. It was never confirmed to me on set what it was I was shooting.
Okay.
Other than obviously it's Star Wars, because there's like Gomorian Guards and shit.
It seems to be like most things go with like Star Wars filming, or even like any big Disney filming, right? Because the less that the less that you could spill. The
Correct.
Less you could potentially spoil for the audience.
Correct.
Right? So.
Yes. So they're very, very, very tight-lipped about that. It's they have to be, because it's crazy.
All right. So I have an important question, and everyone here is going to roll their eyes, and that's fine.
Oh, no.
Were you
here we go.
when you were there?
Oh no!
So sorry, Galen.
What's up?
Okay. So when you were there, I know you didn't film any scenes with him, but on set, did you see Max Rebo at all?
No, Max. Max Rebo in the band. No, unfortunately, no. We didn't. I don't know where the cantina was filmed or where that set was, but yet no, I was not privy to any of that. Unfortunately, I did not get my I did not get my Max Rebo 7-inch signed, the 45 disc,
Dude, yeah, I know, man. I know. I totally understand. I got you. But
I really think it is time for him to get his own series, like bring in Cameron Crowe like a behind the music,
like that, Colin. Now you're on board with a music series. I see how it is.
No. I've had that thought independently. I mean, they're doing a full they're doing a series now about I'm brain farting the Muppets band. They're doing a whole series.
Yeah.
So it's why not do a Max Rebo band too?
Yeah.
Electric Mayhem. They're doing an Electric Mayhem series. So they should do a Max Rebo series.
Are they?
Oh,
yeah, they're doing Electric Mayhem series. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, right.
We were just talking about this right before you came on. I don't know if you caught any of the tidbits of that or whatnot, but I was saying that I would love to see more musical representation within Star Wars. I would love to see the stories of more bands and more culture aspects of Star Wars coming to life.
Yeah.
Even if it went as far as we got to see the Star Wars version of Foo Fighters and have actual music that I could listen to on the way to work. Who is Star Wars Dave Grohl? I need to know.
Right. Yeah.
I would love to see
I was. With having people like Thundercat on this season, I mean, it could happen. They could have now they all need all they need is someone in that world to just bust out a song at the cantina.
Yeah.
I would
totally be on board for that.
I'm very curious about more of the musicians.
I would
or the entertainers.
Yeah. I would also be cool if they decided that my character leaves Mos Espa and decides to become a band manager.
Yeah.
From Mos Espa desk clerk to Max Rebo tour manager. Yes, please.
I'm sorry, you can't come backstage. You don't have the credentials.
You don't have. Yeah, is your name on the list? Is your name on the list?
Boba Fett shows up backstage.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, Mr.
These are my favorite bands.
So
I love Max Rebo. He's my favorite jizz whaler.
Okay. I know that's canon, but it's just it's not. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Canon, but it's a family podcast.
I would love that. I would genuinely love that.
So do you know anything like any background to your actual character, like at all, like in the actual canon, or is it just like boom, like
I mean,
that's it?
you got to be next to the biggest
Anything that you can discuss.
improv actor ever,
Right.
So
Yeah.
that would have been fun.
Yeah, no. As far as background, and I'm sure the beautiful thing about the Star Wars fan universe is that I'm sure over years people are going to build up a backstory for me, which is amazing. But yeah, as far as what was disclosed, I mean, outside of because I'm basically just an extension of the Major Domo, so it's basically anything anything outside of his character is like that's pretty much all I'm privy to. So yeah,
So no
so
plans for
yeah,
future
there was
actors.
there wasn't enough to really to build too much on just based on the content given, but it is, but the Star Wars universe knows no bounds, so over years we may find out other things.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. That's honestly the great thing about Star Wars is that every single character has like a backstory, and I think that was the ultimate goal of Star Wars, is to bring everyone in and say, you don't have to be a force wielder or anyone to be important. Like you are part of this giant part of the galaxy. And if you go back to A New Hope and you look at every single person in the cantina, all of them have a backstory.
Right,
and
down
that
to
is
the
canon.
The starfighters, everyone. Yeah.
So you're right. In a couple of years, like your character will most likely have like some type of like short backstory.
They will have built something. They will have built something in there. Yeah.
Well, now we know he's going to become a band manager, so that's pretty cool.
Just throwing it out there. Planting some
made his
seeds,
own
see if it
canon.
happens.
It's
I'm not saying it has to, but if it did, I mean,
we'll make it happen.
Would we be mad about that? Would you, would the listeners like to see, a Max Reba band with a frustrated band manager, anal retentive band manager? If you do, comment below.
I will go on this crusade for you, Galen.
Send in some petition. Start the petition. I'm not telling you to, but if you did,
Yeah. So how does it feel to be part of the Star Wars, like to be part of that legacy that you most likely grew up with? Right. Like how does it feel to like kind of fulfill that childhood dream of like being like, it'd be great to be part of Star Wars, but I don't know if it's going to happen. And now that you can look back and be like, I was like there in the Book of Boba Fett. Like how is that?
It's awesome. I mean, I think, and in fact, it has an added significance for me because, of course, like anyone, I was as a kid very much aware of Star Wars. It was, it's modern mythology. You kind of grow up with it. It's magic. It's pure magic. But I also, my dad was an artist and actually worked for like when I was like when I was still like a newborn, he worked on the in the modeling department on Return of the Jedi, and actually sculpted a number of the helmets that you see in Return of the Jedi. So
that's really cool.
So do you have like a favorite helmet?
Cool.
He did a few of them. Yeah, he did the Red Guard helmet in Jabba's palace. He built the Biker Scout helmet and Princess Leia's helmet when she escapes Jabba's palace.
Okay.
No.
So
that is so sick.
Okay, so being part of Star Wars kind of runs in the family then.
A little bit. There was a little bit of a full circle, which was really really cool. It was
awesome.
That was pretty neat. Yeah.
Oh
it's
man.
The will of the Force. It's always
We have
exactly.
We have a viewer question here.
It was super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Star Wars helmet? Trooper, Rebel, Bounty Hunter? That's from RFB.
Oh, yeah. Trooper, Rebel, or Bounty Hunter?
Yeah, that's what he.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go you can't go wrong with the trooper design. I mean, I think there's something just so iconic like that. The kind of the skull kind of imprint thing. It's so iconic. I mean, you immediately know what that is. There's no mistaking that. And there's something just kind of both kind of spooky about it, but also and kind of grim, but also immediately familiar. It's really cool.
It is a good design. It's iconic. There's a reason
Yeah.
it's iconic, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, all of
100%.
them are, but yeah.
I'd like to ask you a further question.
Yeah.
What kind of trooper helmet is your favorite helmet? Like out of
Original.
all
It has to be
Star
original.
Wars, like, do you like Clone Trooper, the original trilogy Stormtrooper, or the First Order Stormtrooper?
I would go with
I mean,
classic TK.
I think they. I mean, I'm nostalgic at heart. I mean, I think the originals are.
That is completely
okay.
fair.
Yeah, the
That's a good
originals. I
answer.
mean, I totally get the evolution of it, but I mean the originals just take me back.
Yeah,
immediately.
of course.
There's that.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
So for your costume in the show, did
Mhm.
you have any input on it? Like how they laid stuff in front of you, and then you're like, all right, I want this and this. And
No,
no?
I was they dressed me, they actually, I mean, they dressed a number of us, a number of the kind of smaller principal characters in that scene into I think the day before they did a test in front of Favreau and Rodriguez and Filoni, and so they all just kind of scoped it out and just saw each one of them and they gave their approval, kind of give
cool.
the thumbs up. I remember, they're, of course, they're dealing with this, with this classic canon, material, and it's, and so there's something about it that's that's very sacred, but they're also very very laid back about it all. They're and so like I think one of the costumers was saying was kind of worried about the insignia on my jacket, if it was if it was accurate for my ranking and all of that, and he just looked, and Favreau just looked at it and he just went like, no, I mean, that seems Star Warsy enough.
Nice.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
they're having fun. They're having fun. They're not taking it too seriously. It's the vibe was just the vibe was awesome.
So how was it like actually working with like Jon Favreau and Filoni and just all of them? Like who on that day was the director like in that scene?
Add-on question really quick.
Oh yeah.
And who did you have anyone on set that you worked particularly close with, whether that be Ming-Na Wen or Tamora Morrison, Favreau, Filoni?
Yeah, I mean, I worked a lot with. Yeah, I mean, I was directly working with David Pasquesi, who played the Major Domo. I mean, we probably worked most closely, and then and so I was in 2 different episodes. They shot scenes back to back, but then I had different directors per episode. So in the second episode, I just had where I have my main scene that was directed by a woman named Steph Green, who's directed a lot of great television, like Watchmen and other things. She's done has done a lot of great stuff, and she was really cool to work with. And then for my and then for the other episode, for the third episode, it was that was Rodriguez directing, and then the whole time, of course, Favreau was kind of roaming around, kind of giving the final approval of everything.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, so yeah, they're all very much involved, and then with creative input, that sort of thing.
So what was your most memorable thing that happened to you on set while you were there? You'd just be like, oh, that's the one thing I can definitely pick out in perfect detail.
Oh man, I mean, I mean, just being on the volume, being on set, being on the volume, having the entire world just created around you. I mean, that was surreal. That was absolutely surreal. And then just like little details. I know my my dressing room was I think right next to Robert Rodriguez's office, so I could hear him like play guitar on his lunch break.
That's so
cool. Shoot. Oh
yeah.
Man.
That's really cool.
So
yeah, very cool.
And then like what was the moment that was like, all right, I am working on a Star Wars project? Like, was it the day where you walked on set, or was it like you trying on the costume on the first time?
Sure. I think for me, as far as what I associate with, I think it's when I saw the Gomorian Guards.
Okay. All right.
That's
cool.
that's like the one piece of the canon that really. I mean, that's I think those were always my favorite creatures growing up. You know, so I think I immediately connected with that. It's like, oh wow, that's like something tangible. Like everything else, it could kind of be one thing or another. I mean, obviously Boba Fett. I mean, there's no mistaking Boba Fett. But for me, the Gomorian Guards was that visceral reaction of like, oh shit.
And may they rest in peace.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh man.
So will you be going to Celebration? Will you maybe be signing, doing photos, anything like that?
You know, I'm with I have representation for for conventions and appearances, so just kind of starting that engine. So I'm not sure if they've if Celebration has made their selection yet, but I'm hoping to definitely hit as many of the conventions this year and any that I missed so far, hit them up next year for sure. I mean, I think interacting with the fans is just they're what keep the franchise alive. So I mean, I think that's really it's an important thing, and it's a real gift to be able to do that.
Have you ever gone to Star Wars Celebration? Like
I've never gotten the opportunity. So to be able to, if I ever get the opportunity to go, if my first time is as a guest, I mean, that would be awesome. Wouldn't be mad at that.
I'm telling you, it is going to be the most crazy experience like ever. If you end up going this year, like you will walk on the floor and you'll be like, oh my God, like what is going on? Because it is so surreal. And then the fact that you were involved in it and people will know who you are, it's going to be like, wait, what? So
it's right. It's like the outside world ceases to exist as soon as you step in the that's awesome. I mean, how can you not love that? That's rad.
Right. Yeah.
How much interaction with Star Wars have you had up until this point before you sort of came into this role? Can you walk us through your Star Wars journey? Like, obviously your dad helped.
Yes, I mean, so I was very much the original the original 4, 5, and 6, of course. The original the original trilogy was a part of my childhood growing up. Very much weeded on that. I remember when the special editions came out. I remember all the hype about that. And then and so I think I saw the I kind of petered out for a little bit during the prequels, and then kind of have come back around.
Understandably so. A lot of people did.
I think that
no one's going to blame you for that.
You can still find some cool stuff from there, but I mean, especially I think I think number 3, but I think for the most part, then I just kind of came back around. I remember seeing the Force Awakens, I think at like 5:30 a.m. at the ArcLight with friends. That was a fantastic experience. So no, I mean, and I love that it keeps going, and I love that now that the the life that it's having in these new series. You know what they've been doing with Mandalorian. The way that they've been bringing in different, all these different actors. I mean, if you would have told me, I was a big film nerd in college. If you told me like Werner Herzog would be in the Star Wars universe, I'd say get out of town. I mean, that's wild to me. I love that. And I love that. I love that I love the kind of the people that they've involved in that, how much that world has grown over the years and keeps growing.
That's a phenomenal answer. And I am curious, have you been exposed to or have you been informed about or ever taken interest in watching any of the like animated series that have come out? Because those are huge now. Like those are getting big. And we're getting a lot of it.
That's the one part I still haven't explored. I know a lot of my friends are getting into that more. So I've certainly been curious. I mean, what I guess volleying it back, what would you say would be the perfect introduction? Which one would you say to start with?
I think that's a big debate. I think we should all sort of have an answer on this, but personally, like for me, I was a big fan of the prequels. I loved all the prequels, and Clone Troopers are my favorite. So for me, my introduction was Clone Wars, and that was everything that I wanted as a kid. But for someone who's a fan of the original trilogies, like you may want to start with Rebels or something like that, because that sort of tells the story of like the beginnings of the Empire and how the Rebel Alliance first sort of came to be, and introduces all of these great iconic characters. You get to sort of have play catch up with all of these iconic characters that are coming out now, especially with like the Ahsoka series coming out, further things. I feel like that would be a great place to start.
Yeah.
Well, you popped up once, so I guess you get to pop up everywhere now. So that'll be very fun.
Hey, right?
Okay. So final question: if you could have one piece of Star Wars merchandise like made of you, what?
Oh wow!
Like from a Lego set, like an action figure where you're included with Max Rebo or something. Like what?
I mean, even as a minifig. Oh my gosh!
Beautiful. Oh my gosh!
Minifigure you would be amazing.
That
would be awesome.
You end up being in the new Lego Star Wars game. Oh, done.
Oh wow! I mean, this might be an easy answer, but I can't. I don't know if I could. I would have to. I couldn't turn down being getting a pop vinyl. I mean that.
Oh yes.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
That's you gotta have that. I mean, I think that's. I mean, everything else absolutely, but I think that's first order of business. That's like we'll like do it one by one, but like first order of business, let's get the pop vinyl out of the way.
Yeah, that actually seems like absolutely doable. I can totally
the hat, the hair. You get there's enough. Perfect. I think there's enough there that it's distinctive. The mustache, of course.
Rocking the mustache, by the way.
No. I see. I love that look because of it. It does scream Star Wars, like it was like made like in the 70s and the 80s. Of that's what a lot of the characters you like see in the new shows are still keeping that look, and I love that.
Which is great. Yeah, I mean they're really staying true to the original, which is great.
I can't say the word because this is a family-friendly podcast.
Don't say it.
The big bushy stashes. That was one of, funnily enough, the biggest compliments that I saw whenever Rogue One came out, and we saw the pilots, like the X-Wing pilots, was like, oh, they have the stashes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Precisely.
Yeah, before we let you go, Galen, we have one last listener question from Bat Wars 99 on YouTube. What is your favorite moment in Star Wars?
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, favorite moment. I mean, there's so many. I mean, definitely definitely the cantina scene, of course, with our friend Max Rebo.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mid
You know,
Collins did.
I think the speeder bike chase in Jedi,
Oh, yeah.
100%. Absolutely. I think the training scenes in Dagobah, I think, are classic. Those I think really spoke to me as a kid. Those early scenes. So yeah, I think I mean, there's so many. How can ask me in 5 minutes and probably be a different answer. But I mean, there's so many.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Galen, thank you so much for
guys,
being on the
this is rad.
podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
So glad to have you on
everyone
board.
here agrees that we're definitely extending you an invitation to come back again on the podcast
Yeah.
I'd love
some
that.
point in the
Yeah,
near future.
let's do it.
and talk more Star Wars. Maybe go over little
Yeah.
breaking news topics like we usually do.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, if you're at Celebration, I will definitely, because I'm having shirts made that say like hashtag Max Rebo lives. I will definitely find you, and I will give you.
Oh,
you know,
please do. I would wear that with pride.
Paul's made a new best
Yeah.
I would wear that
Talking
with
about Max
pride.
Rebo all
Absolutely. Thank you
wait,
guys.
wait,
This was
wait.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Like one quick question. Do you think he died, like during the explosion? Like,
Oh man.
yeah, because
Yes.
I looked.
Way to end
I
it
did
on a
not see
downer.
him. I didn't see him. I scanned that scene for hours, and I didn't see him. But I want your.
You'll have to
opinion.
forgive him,
Do you
Galen.
think he died?
He's in denial. He
Oh,
can't-
I don't
he can't
know.
accept the truth.
I mean, I want to believe that he's like that he's like that he like made it out. He's still like playing in underground clubs, you know.
Yes. Okay. I will still give you a shirt. That was a good answer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know which side my bread's buttered on. Yeah. Guys, this was rad. Thank you so much.
Of
All
course.
right, yeah, no
Thank you for
problem.
joining us.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool, man. All right. Yeah. And a shout out to all the fans. Thank you for listening. Thanks. Thanks for all of this. I wouldn't be able to do this without the fans. So this is rad.
Yeah, is there anything
anywhere-
that you wanted to plug?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere we can find you if you want to be found.
Yeah,
Instagram.
you can follow. I'm active on my Instagram at Galen Howard. You can find you can find all of my work there. I'm recently in a really wonderful dramatic comedy called Moon Manor that just came out on rental on DVD. Has a great cast on there, so definitely check that out. It's available for rental on Amazon and all other properties, so all other platforms. So check that out too, and follow me on the Instagrams and Twitters.
All right, excellent.
Awesome.
For
Wonderful.
Colin, Mason, Josh, and Galen, thanks,
All right.
and may the
Force be with
force
you.
be with you.
May the force be with you guys.
Always.
Max Rebo